Welcome back, everybody, to the Boys in Motion podcast. We're your hosts, Brian, Andrew, and Tyler. Today's episode, we're bringing you a fresh perspective from someone gearing up for the nice 5K at Around the Bay. Let's get it going.
Ian joining us today. He's preparing for his first ever road race. We'll chat about his endurance background and his build to Around the Bay. Plus, we'll see some highlights of his journey as he ramps up the volume.
Whether you're new to racing or a veteran, this episode will have a little bit of something for everyone. So let's dive into our first conversation with Ian as he prepares for that first official 5K, and let's hear from his goals for race day. Let's jump into it. This one's pretty special because this today is Runner Man Andy's first running protege, or the running protege, Ian. So there's a lot riding on this episode. There's been a plan that was put together for Ian for this first ever official road 5K. So let's jump right into it. And Ian, tell us a little bit about your endurance background, sports background, and kind of what brought you up to this moment of wanting to get into running.
Thanks for having me on the podcast. My sports background was when you're growing up, you do a lot of sports. Haven't really been active for the past 10 years or so working. And I got into running and endurance sports because of, my role model, running man, Andy. So yeah, that's pretty much why I got into running, I signed up for this Around the Bay 5K, mainly, again, because of runner man, Andy. He's running the Berlin Marathon on his birthday, and Around the Bay happens to be on my birthday, and he can't be the only one to run something on his birthday. So that's actually what pushed me over the edge on that.
No way, that's awesome. That's a big bomb to drop right there. Real first minute of the episode there. That is amazing to hear.
Yeah, big year of birthday runs. And what's even more special is that for everyone doing the 30, 15, or 10K, our start time is actually at 9:45, and the 5K start time is at 8:30. So everyone there of the BIM squad will actually be able to cheer on Ian as he starts and finishes. So there's going to be a big crew there to witness the historic event, the big first 5K. So it should be an exciting day.
That's a huge birthday bash. I'm very excited. We'll have some boys and gals in the BIM gear cheering you on to that finish line. That's really cool. So Around the Bay, lots of different events. What made you pick the 5K over all the other options?
Well, I'm really new to endurance sports, and the 5K seems kind of reasonable. I'm not sure if I could do a 10K. Like, if I really pushed myself, maybe I would, but I feel that at the end of it, I might not want to continue on with endurance sports as a newbie. If you push too hard and don't enjoy it, you're not going to go. So for me, the 5K is manageable, and it'll keep me going, and I'll still feel good after.
I love it. I think that's really important. We talk all the time about kind of the stepping stones that you have in endurance sports. And I think 5K is that first thing that's accessible enough. But like you say, it requires some training. And it seems like you're putting in some good work. I see it all on Strava. It's really cool. So far, have you faced any challenges going into this training block that you're putting together?
So the main challenge for me is if I have to follow out a routine. This past week, I had to go on a work trip, and I know you guys talked about trying to find time to do runs on a work trip. So falling out of routine and then getting back into the routine. So this week I'm back. I'm supposed to go for a run today. So hopefully after this pod, I'm going to go for a run. It's a little chilly though, so I'll admit the weather's a little bit of a deterrent. But yeah, it's just staying in my normal routine. And anything that impedes that makes it more challenging.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I know we kind of were chatting about, we put together this training plan that mainly consists of 3 running workouts a week, and we kind of tried to tailor it to your life and the days that kind of worked for you based on your work schedule, since you do a pretty crazy commute. So weekday workouts are a little bit of a challenge, I know. But we had you on a bit of a base building for a few weeks, but we're actually about to jump out of base building and kind of start to do some more interesting workouts. How has the base building been so far? And are you looking forward to getting a little bit more variation in what you're doing on a day basis?
The base workouts have been pretty good. It's kind of challenging in this winter months to really monitor your heart rate and hit the target heart rate for the zone 2. So some days I find I go a little too hard and a little more exertion, but I'm looking forward to the next installment for my exercises. I'm feeling like my timing is a little inconsistent. Some days are faster, some days are slower, and I really want to see that improvement, because going for zone 2, you're going slow, and I was like, oh, I think I can go faster than this. Like, am I losing speed? So that's my current thoughts, and I'm looking forward to the next section to see if I can get that speed going.
Seems like you're excited to get the speed, so I think Andrew's interval workouts and his tempo stuff might help you out with some of those faster kilometers, so that'll be nice and fun.
Yeah, we do have some interesting kind of more interval stuff that is coming up. As of right now with the base building, we're kind of doing a lot of that kind of variation between zone 2 jogging and walking and kind of going between that. Do you find, I guess, what is your experience with doing that as far as, because I know the first time that we ran together, we were doing the walk portion, and then we started on the run, and you just sprinted. You like actually like full running man, just sprinting. I was like, oh no, that's not what this section is. So have you, how has it been reeling it in a little bit during those running parts?
We're gonna have to call him Running Man Ian. Holy crap, that's nice.
It's actually really funny because when I first started, I had no idea about zone 2. So the first time I started running, I was like, yeah, let's go for a run. And, run's pretty fast paced, not like a jog. It's been difficult to reel it in because I don't want to walk faster than I'm jogging or than I'm running. So I kind of want to keep that faster pace. So I have to catch myself and be like, hey, can I still have a conversation? And then I'll just play a conversation out in my head being like, hey, Ian, how's it going? Oh, the weather's cold today, just to see if I can say those words and like still keep going. Because if I can't say those words or I'm huffing and puffing, I know I got to reel it back in.
Yeah, no, in those first few weeks, like I'm trying to put myself in the position of somebody who maybe sees the work that you're putting in and is inspired by that because they're not currently running, and maybe they're going for some walks, but they'd love to do that first 5K, 10K, whatever it might be. What advice do you have to somebody who's maybe nervous about going out for their first run? And what would you kind of say to that person, or even said to yourself 3 months ago?
So for me, I find I have a different mindset. My mouth talks more than my body can handle. So I'll register myself up for intense events that I find, and I'm like, well, I said I had to do it, so now I have to do it and put my money where my mouth is. So for anyone like me that's kind of new, I just say you want to do it, like write it down, tell a few people. Now that it's out there and everyone knows you're doing it, you're going to want to have to go out and do it more. I found that was the biggest thing to get me off the couch, was just telling people I was doing it and having to put the work in, because I don't want to embarrass myself too much by not meeting those goals.
That's a great point. Yeah, I think just telling people and getting the word out is kind of a motivational push to like, hey, someone's expecting something and I'm going to reach towards those goals, and then you just got to crush it.
Yeah, I know some people in your circle that have, when I put this plan together, they asked me, so what days does Ian have that he's supposed to be training so we can keep him accountable? So it definitely does seem like that telling people and then kind of telling them this is my plan is definitely a good thing, as far as, getting those people around you that are like, oh, I think you should be running today.
Yeah, that has been a really big help for those people telling me that are you supposed to be running today, to get out there, especially on those days that you're not feeling so good or you don't really want to go for that run, because, as a beginner, you still find that getting out there is kind of hard. You don't just want to run for the sake of running. Very few people want to do that. Those people are sometimes a little crazy, but that's okay. Maybe one day we'll all share that same joy.
Yeah, and I think that's one of those things that really takes time to, one, start feeling that runner's high. And I think a big part of what what actually motivates somebody to, and when you get that feeling of, oh, running is really fun and I enjoy it, is being able to run well in zone 2 or even zone 3, where it's not just so brutal and difficult. So I know you're putting in some zone 2 work. I see it on Strava. How has that been going? Do you feel yourself improving at that zone 2 pace?
Yeah, generally I would say there's a massive improvement from when the first week of the training block or the first time I went out, and then the last few ones. Like zone 2 has been pretty comfortable, and there's been a day where I actually challenged my plan a little bit. Instead of doing like 90 walk and then 60 on, I did like a minute and a minute, and I was still pretty comfortable with that, like for 1 or 2 sessions. So I'm definitely noticing that improvement.
I think a big thing too is we talk about injury prevention. So I would imagine Andy's got you on a pretty strict, can't go too fast too quickly or else you could get that injury, right? So
yeah, as his protege, you know, like his pet project, I need to be a success so people come back to him.
I kind of want to chat a little bit about your race day expectations and kind of how you feel going into your first ever official race. Is there excitement, nerves? Do you have any questions about how the day kind of will go?
Yeah, so I will say I'm a little nervous. You Google the average person doing a 5K, and they'll run in 30 minutes. I'm not running in 30 minutes, so I wasn't sure initially if there was a window that they would close behind. They'd be like, no, you're not finishing. You're a little too slow. That's something I am a little nervous about. I'm expecting to finish between 30 to 40 minutes. That's the goal. The last time I did a 5K, I actually ran 7 by accident. I made a wrong turn and had to just keep running the length. It was the virtual 5K for me because I wasn't able to make the BIM one. But yeah, I expect, around 40 minutes. And the biggest question I had was, is there like a time limit after? Do a lot of people run the 5Ks pretty quick that are participating? Is it super crowded at the start line? Like, I've never done any of these events for a 5K, so I'm not sure if you guys have done a 5K before and know what to expect at the starting line.
good questions.
Yeah, I think in general, the nice thing about this 5K is there's a bunch of other distances. So I don't think you'll have to be worrying about a time limit since there will be other events going on. So they'll probably just allow people to come in as they finish. There will be a big range, I think, from super speedy to people that are either walk jogging or like families. So I think there will be a nice mix of paces and people for you to run with. I think there is chances that it is going to be quite busy. Around the Bay is a decently sized race. But the nice thing is that will be a good pacing strategy so that you don't just start blasting off the start line. So it helps you have that nice slow start.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is just be realistic about that pace, settle into it early, don't get caught up in the hype, because the last thing you want to do is kind of explode right off the finish line and then, or sorry, right off the start line and then struggle the whole way home. You want it to be a fun, successful day. So making sure that you manage early so that you can not be totally blacked out at the finish line, just ever so closely.
Honestly,
And the good thing is about the 5Ks, you get bussed to the start of your heat, and then you get a head start to the hills, so you get to hit the hills before everybody else. So
I get to hit the hills.
Is that actually
No.
true?
No. Tyler's spreading false information.
I thought it was
5K.
true.
No, that's the 10K and the 15. The 5K starts at
Oh.
Iona Station and
right.
ends there. So I think it's going to be kind of more of a 5K city loop. I would assume they're going to keep it flat. The course has not been announced yet, but I think it should be flat.
Yeah, I didn't have any elevation in my training plan, so I would have been in a lot of trouble.
That's my bad. I didn't see that. I forgot you said the 5K wasn't out yet.
Yeah, no, it should be a fairly well, like it'll be very, very like sectioned off and well managed. And you're going to have people cheering for you the whole time, which is really cool because it's like kind of the finish of your race is pretty exact to the start of ours. And I think that cutoff time would be similar to whenever the first start time is for the full around the bay. So I don't think there's like an issue there for timing. So that's not something you need to stress about. It's just about hitting that pace, and you won't be last, you won't be first, but you can try to maximize your day.
Yeah, as I said, sub 40 is
The
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 goal.
one the one other question I had for you, you don't use a GPS running watch yet, and you use the Strava app. I'm curious because I know all of us other runners we're glued to our paces, and we're constantly looking down and making sure we're hitting those paces. What do
Minus Pete, that is. I got to give a shout out to Pete. He's still on the Strava, one marathon down, and he's still on the Strava app.
He's on the dual
well
phone.
then maybe we need to get Pete on to give some tips for the non GPS running watch runners. But I want to know what your strategies are for pacing and how you're going to kind of gauge your effort throughout the 5.
Oh, so like when running the 5K, not necessarily for the training portion. So I guess by that time when I'm running the 5K, I kind of hope to know if I could jog the whole 5K or if I'm going to still be walking it. And then it's pretty much just sticking to what I did in training and how I felt. And I know like my Fitbit watch isn't super accurate for heart rate, but maybe use that as a gauge to make sure I'm in my heart rate zone, or if I'm committed to still doing the run walk and then doing those intervals, then I'd use my watch just to do those intervals.
No zone 2 on race day, by the way. That's on non-existent.
I guess I'll be thrown up at that finish line.
There's one other thing that I wanted to bring up right at the end here before we start jumping into your goals, and that was through the grapevine. I heard that you might have some competition at the 5K start line by someone pretty close to you, and I wanted to dive into that a little bit. Brian and Tyler, you guys aren't in the know, but Ian will be competing against his dad at the Around the Bay 5K. His dad has officially signed up and will be towing the line.
No way.
It's true.
That's very,
it's
very
true.
cool. Does your dad run, or is he also more of a newbie?
He's in better shape than I am. He does some activity, like he likes to ride his bike and does a lot of like long bike rides. He's not much of a runner. So I'm hoping, because I hear through the grapevine he's not really training for it. So if I still lose, I don't know if I can keep up this endurance sports. So no, I believe that I just want to, make sure I beat him up in the race, get to that finish line first, even if I have to, yank on his jersey a little bit. So
Great tactic. That's a great tactic. That's awesome.
just right near the finish line, leaving my dust.
Yeah, I think my favorite thing was that your dad was convinced because you told him we were going to Collective Arts or somewhere like that for food and beers after, and he was in.
So actually, I think, Christmas time, he got a little belligerent and said he would do it. Like, when I said I'd put my money where my mouth is, I said I would run this 5K. So he said he would do it, and then my mom took initiative to register him. I don't actually think he knows just yet if we're going for beer after, but that'll be a nice treat.
He knows about the race, might not know about the celebrations after.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, does he know that he's officially signed up? Like people have told him?
I believe so.
Even better. So you might beat him. He doesn't know he's running.
I mean, I have reached out and given the warning. Whether or not he realizes the situation or not, I don't know. I've done all I can, I think.
Chaotic. I love it. Well, it sounds like, yeah, you're cut from the same cloth, we'll say, because it's just great to see somebody beginning in the sport, starting at that kind of ground zero and just building block by block, brick by brick. What advice would you give to somebody who is thinking maybe they'd like to sign up for something, but are a little hesitant about diving in?
I would say take everything at your own pace and try not to overdo it. So I would say I listened to the podcast and you guys said, oh, you should do strengthening exercises in between your cardio. And I did some strengthening exercises and then I couldn't walk for 3 days. So really moderation is key here, guys. And then just, say you're going to do it, try not to pay attention to the time and try and be realistic with your goals. Like don't be over ambitious and just try and enjoy the process.
Those are good tips. And also I want to add to what you're saying, Ian, and don't follow into the chirps and the peer pressure of people saying you're not training, because you're training in the shadows and you're going to get to that finish line. That's all that matters.
Thanks. Yeah, that's the goal. No zone 2 during race
But the
day.
thing is, Ian is training. He's the consistency king. He posts his Wednesday, Friday, Sunday workouts
I think
Like
he's running
clockwork.
more than me. He is running more than me recently, so I am jealous of that.
Yeah, we might need to do a protege versus the triathlete Tyler analysis for the month of January because I think it would be an interesting analysis, that's for sure.
Oh frig, no! Put my stats right in the poubelle, please.
Okay, so before we move on to your goals, do you have any questions for us as you move into this next phase of your training or about the race or anything in general?
No, like we have to pick up our jerseys and stuff before the race day, I think I saw that somewhere. So I was just wondering, like, is it normally like a streamlined process, or are you one of you guys going to be there to like pick up bibs so I can maybe like just meet up with one of you guys in Hamilton to do that before the event?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, of course, an event like this, they have it as streamlined as possible because there's thousands and thousands of people who all need to pick up their race kit. Now, on the race registration, there was an option for a race day pickup, which was actually extra, but you could pick up, I think, the Friday and Saturday before as well for free. And I think one of the somebody from the BIM squad, and we'll coordinate this with the community, will be going to pick up everybody who would like bib, and then we would have it available to racers on Sunday. So it's not required that you necessarily go down, but you need somebody to pick up your bib, and you just need to share a little bit of information. I think it's just name and registration number, and somebody else can pick that up for you.
Yeah, I think it's likely that we will be going to pick up the bibs, and we'll put up some post or a story of anyone that wants to. So if you're not necessarily going into Hamilton, we can definitely pick it up for you and give it to you on race day when we're there at that 5K start line, waiting there and cheering for you.
The one thing that I would say is if this is your first race experience, it is in your case, Ian, those race expos the day before are pretty cool. You can see some of the gear that people have. There's vendors there, there's different nutrition booths and all sorts of stuff like that. So if you're curious about what's available to runners, some of the latest tech, all of that, there's vendors there that's pretty interesting and exciting. And oftentimes there's some free samples as well. That being said, you want to keep off the feet a little bit before race day. So there's a balance to strike.
Ian, what do you think about so Ian has been to some running expos with me, including the one at the Chicago Marathon.
True.
And Ian, what do you think about the free samples that you've tried?
If you're not prepared for what runners actually need, don't actually partake in the free samples. They're a little rough. I think I tried a maple something gel, and I promptly spit it out involuntarily.
Honestly, that's exactly what I was thinking about. At the Ottawa Marathon, there was the same like maple vendor, and I was just thinking, I would love to be sipping on some syrup right now. But if that's not your thing, then fair, very fair.
I think one of
Yeah.
my favorites were the friggin'
Yeah, those at the Toronto Marathon, that's an ideal expo snack. Everyone
perfect.
wants a
For
nice
people
gnocchi.
on without video, what are you showing? I can't even see
Oh,
it.
skillet pasta. It was
It's
really
the gnocchi that's filled with like cheese.
Oh,
And they basically had what is that Oliveira
yeah.
booth, and they were just cooking up gnocchis
And giving them to people. It was perfect.
on little toothpicks, and it was wonderful.
That's very nice. Yeah. So let's hop into chat time. And I think the best way to kick off chat time is a good old tradition we have, which is a hot take. And I love having a guest because it means we get a different perspective. So, Ian, do you have a hot take to share with the community?
I guess I accidentally already shared my hot take, doing this in one shot, but it was just don't overdo it. As I said, I could barely walk after I did leg exercises, and I didn't think I overdid it at the time, but you want to still be able to do things after and enjoy your life and have endurance sports be a part of it. So if you overdo it and put yourself in pain and can't do anything, chances are you're not going to come back. So I would just say like ease into things and build up, which is what this pod has been preaching. And no rush. Everyone does things in their own time, and endurance sports is about improving you and having a better life.
I've said it better myself. I big agree.
Yeah, I think that's very good advice. Oftentimes and even we're guilty of this, is there's always another recommendation for something that you could be doing to get that extra 5 or even 1% better. But you're right that like the basics of just going out, sticking to a plan that's reasonable for you is what gets you into the sport and what makes you successful at the sport as well. So I don't think that's too much of a hot take. I think it's a reality check for us sometimes, always preaching, giving tips, is you want to stick to that 20% that gets you 80% of the results a lot of the time.
I think what could maybe create a true hot take is let's go through your around the bay goals with your A, B, and C goal, where your A goal is that dream goal. If all stars align, maybe you push yourself a little bit extra during training. What would that A goal look like for you for the around the bay 5K?
I mean, it's really really far out there. This A goal would be to run it in 35 minutes, but like that's a speedy goal and borderline like not attainable at the moment. I'm gonna have to pick up my training to even consider reaching that. That'd be my big A goal. My B goal is to try and like actually just run the whole thing without really doing the run walk. Again, that's also like another a big push. We'll see based on my pacing if that's realistic, because my C goal is to actually just finish the race under 40 minutes. So B is based on if I can do it with C.
Nice. Yeah, those are some good goals, and I'm hoping that that A dream goal is not just a hot take, and that on your birthday the stars align and you just blast through that finish line.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I think one thing that we're also excited for is a check-in sort of in the weeks approaching the race. We're still quite far out. There's some time to keep training, some time to taper and all of that, but really a close to race time check-in to hear how these goals shift, how you're feeling before the race will be really interesting. And then also a retrospective on the race after race week to hear about the result, the successes, let's say the weaknesses in your day that you look to improve on as well. So yeah, there's lots that I'm excited to hear about as you kind of build up to this event and see that race day go by.
All right, and before we leave you, Tyler has a little bit of a game, a blind ranking that he's cooked up for you. So Tyler, what do you got for us?
Okay, let's do this, Ian. So we're going to be some blind ranking on essentials for a newbie runner. So you don't know what's coming, but you got to rank them 1 to 5, best to worst. So first we got essentials for newbie runner, proper running shoes. What do you rank those as?
I would probably, for a newbie runner, if you're just starting, I would rank that as like a 4 or 5, to be honest. Probably, let's just set it as a solid 4.
Giving them a nice 4. All right. Next, we'll do reflective gear, especially for this time of year. Let's say we got some cold, dark days and nights. Reflective gear for when you're out training.
But safety is important, so I would probably put that as like a 2.
Safety man over here. I like it. I like it. Might as well get his hard hat going too. We got the third option here, heart rate monitor. Get that, keep you in that zone too. What do you think that one goes?
Oh man, that's if you're really looking to improve, but like this is from a newbie perspective. I didn't have a heart rate monitor in the beginning, so I would probably put that, closer to the shoes. I would say that's a 5. Just from a newbie perspective here, guys. Like if you're just trying to get into running, you don't need the fancy shoes. You don't need the fancy heart rate monitor. You just need to get out there and do it.
I gotta take a pause.
No.
Andrew is I think he's gonna have some lessons for you.
Oh, man.
Ian. What do you have to say, Andrew?
All I have to say is, yeah, no fancy shoes allowed. I think keep it rolling, and we'll see what you're setting yourself up.
Hey!
All right,
I
so-
ended up buying shoes. I bought fancy shoes for this around the bay and for training. But you asked from a newbie perspective. I started running for the first BIM 5K, virtually, without fancy shoes, without a heart rate monitor, without reflective gear, which I
And you
did say
still
was
did it.
important, but I still did it.
And exactly.
I love it because run with your old trainers, just like the whatever I would say more gym shoes. You were just always complaining about the knees and the ankles always hurting.
You're like, you need new shoes.
Proper running shoes, 4 or 5. Don't need
No.
them.
Who better? All right, we got two categories left here. Next one up on the list. Proper training plan. What do you rate that one?
Oh man, that has to be a 1. That has to be a 1 for me. Consistency is key. Getting out there, I need that regimented plan, because if not, I'll think in my head, oh, I can skip a day. I can go tomorrow, and tomorrow comes, and I'm like, oh, I can just go the next day. To me, I need to be like, okay, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, let's go. That's it, you know?
You're actually onto something, because right now that's my dilemma. I have nothing to look at on the paper, and I just don't go out. It's really nice. It's fun. Also, you need a training plan from Runnerman Andy himself, so that's also a bonus. Last but not least, we got your last ranking essential, carbon-plated race
Oh
shoes.
man, that's a 3. That's better than the 4 that I put for race shoes, guys. That's the only spot that's left.
All right, this is your hot take right here. Carbon-plated shoes over proper training shoes. That is a hot take.
That's the hot take, folks.
Oh man, I guess I gotta get those for around the bay. For that 5K, just need carbon-plated shoes.
That's it. You can run a lot of 5Ks before you burn through a pair of carbon plated.
Frig. You could zoom,
I just need to run a 5K to break them in before the 5K.
and you're set. That's on your next tempo run. You could hit them up, and you're
I
good to
couldn't
go.
think of a better birthday present than getting those early for that birthday run.
Your first.
That was quite the nudge. Quite the nudge from the protege. Well, we'll see.
A nice gift from the professor.
Oh,
Yeah, that's-
true. Well, that was amazing, Ian. Love the interview and even hotter takes on the blind rankings. That was wonderful. Thanks for listening, everybody, to the Boys in Motion podcast. Big shout out again, Ian, for sharing your beginner's journey. And I can't wait to hear what you have to say on our check-in a few weeks before the race itself.
Yeah, that was superb. Thanks for joining us. And for those listening, don't forget to follow us on our socials. Share this with a friend who you think might be inspired by Ian's story to actually start training and sign up for their first event. And make sure they also follow the Boys in Motion.
Yeah, I'm very excited to have my first running protege. And Ian, your consistency in your training plan is absolutely phenomenal. You're doing much better in consistency than me and Tyler right now. So you're surpassing the masters. So check on that. But yeah, wishing you all the best as you continue your training and approach taking on around the bay, and can't wait to check it next time to see how the training's coming along.
Thank you guys for having me on the podcast. It was a lot of fun participating, and I'm just going to take this honor from you guys. You guys aren't professionals. You know, we should not go and do any of these things without consulting with a medical professional first.
That's a fair point and a great point to end off on. Take care, folks.
Cheers.